Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Now, just see what exactly we are going to discuss today. So, our subject, what we know, that is the thermal engineering one, right? So, already you have some idea about what basically the thermal engineering one. To start with, just have an understanding about these things. Yes. Now, see what exactly your subject is, right? Now, you already studied about your thermodynamics in your earlier classes. Then, sir, why there is one more thermal engineering is available in your syllabus, right? Now, thermodynamics or any particular branch of mechanical engineering or thing, first you must have a basic principles. The principles will actually gives you how I can use that principle for some sort of application. Okay, so straight away I can't go and use that application without a knowledge of the basic principle how it works. So what exactly your thermodynamics will give you, as the name indicates, thermo indicates the heat, dynamics indicates motion. So you are studying about the thermal energy or heat in motion. So that's called as your thermodynamics. Then what is thermal engineering? So engineering or technology will be nothing but your application of the principles. So whatever the thermal principles or thermodynamic principles you have learned in your earlier classes, you will be using the same for some sort of applications. So that's what your thermal engineering subject is all about, right? Now, hope you remember the thermodynamics, what and all we have discussed. I think the laws of thermodynamics, you remember the first law of thermodynamics, second law of thermodynamics, then something called as zeroth law of thermodynamics. To start with, it's the zeroth law of thermodynamics, first law of thermodynamics, then second law of thermodynamics. So, zeroth law of thermodynamics, that basically gives you the concept of temperature. Then the first law of thermodynamics gives you the concept of law of conservation of energy. Here, in the first law of thermodynamics, I'll be discussing about the heat and work. Okay. Now, in that same thing, you'll be discussing of something called as perpetual motion machine. All these things what you are going to discuss in the first law. And second law of thermodynamics, we will be discussing something called as heat engine, heat pump, and refrigerator. And mostly it's like a Kelvin Planck statement and Clausius statements. Okay. So how your refrigerator is going to work, how your heat engine is going to work, how your heat pump is going to work. So basic principle what we are going to discuss in case of second law of thermodynamics. Then we have studied about some operators like turbine, nozzle, those things, which actually has something called as SFE, that is steady flow energy equation. Steady flow energy equation. That means like a heat balance or mass balance. Okay, so mass in, mass out, heat in, heat out, like that. Suppose here it comes input as heat, it may be coming as a work. Okay, so for a cycle, it must have two heat inputs and two work inputs. Work input, work output, as well as heat input and heat output. Then we have discussed, might have discussed about the entropy, a property called as entropy, that is the ratio of heat transfer to the absolute temperature is called as the entropy. This is actually the concept which tells you the rate at which that particular heat energy is going to transfer because of the two differences in temperature. Okay, so that's the entropy. Then you might have studied about the thing called as pure substance or steam or vapor. So some properties of steam and something called as different points like what is known as triple point, what is known as latent heat, what is the sensible heat, what is latent heat, what is superheat. So those are the basic principles or basics what you need for a application part, that is the thermodynamics. Now, what is exactly thermoengineering? As I explained already, it indicates the applications of your thermodynamics principles. Applications of thermodynamic principles, right? Now, now just see a small drawing or a thing what I made. to make you understand about the thermodynamics versus thermal engineering, right? Now just see here something like a Q in, Q out, work in, work out. So work in is work pump and work out is work turbine. So regarding the heat and work, the thermodynamics will gives you that whenever there is a device like this, which is undergoing the steady flow energy transfer, then you have something like a cycle where whenever you have input heat available, it must have some output heat. Similarly, when you do some work here, then there will be some work output. So what is this basically, this particular diagram indicates, it's nothing but your steam power plant. You might have seen the power plants like VTPC, like Vijayawada Thermal Power Station, or something called as NTPC. Okay, like that you have various places where you have the power plants which produces the electrical energy based upon the coal and steam energy. Now this particular thing what you are seeing here, one is called as a pump. This is a pump, and two is a boiler, three is a turbine, and four is called as a condenser. Okay, to make you simple thing, as I said, thermodynamic principles will tells us what is this Q in, Q out, as well as W pump or W in into W out. So turbine is the one which actually takes the energy in some form and produces work. That is the work output. And what is the work input? This particular fluid available here will be taken to the boiler. You have to pump that fluid to the boiler. So you have to apply energy. So that is the work input here, work output here. Then what is heat input? So once you got water here, see the blue color. So keep on heating with the help of coal energy. So that coal, when it's burned, once it's burns, it gives the heat energy. Now that water will be converting into a red color, which is called as a steam or vapor. So that vapor starts expanding in a device called as steam turbine. And once it expands, it starts rotating and produces the mechanical work or mechanical energy. When coupled to a alternator, produces electrical energy. Now, whatever the left out, because once the energy from the substance has been given to this particular turbine, the mass will be like that, it will lose its energy, but it will come as, supposing that it comes as a steam, it will be converting as a water. That's why again the blue color comes. Now still it has some heat. So what I'll do, I'll be using some external cooling water. These are the pipes. So that particular hot water or maybe some little bit of steam will just comes over these particular pipes, and that entire steam or hot water will be cooled into cool water here. You can see the drops of water here. That water again pumped back to the boiler, and again it will be heated, steam, work, like that. The entire cycle is going to work. Okay. Now, unless if I don't know what is heat, what is work, obviously I don't know how a pump works, how the turbine works, what is meant by a condenser or a heat exchanger, what is meant by a boiler, what is the device called as a boiler, and what is meant by a the heat source. Here it's a coal if you assume. So why I am using only coal? Because I know a property of a coal as called as a calorific value. So coal is a substance, when a solid fuel, when it burns, it gives the heat energy. So all the basic principles of thermodynamics I am taken care, and I'll be just using that for an application. What is the main purpose of this particular plant here? You are generating the electrical energy from the steam power plant, which is connected to the grid. Okay, so that's how this works. So this is a basic example how a thermodynamics and thermal engineering will be happening. Okay, now we'll go for next one. Now see, as per your syllabus, these are the, now I can see instead of going for a syllabus, so these are the main applications of your thermal engineering. Once if I learn about the thermodynamics principles, the thermodynamic principles can be applied to the devices what I have mentioned here. So what are the devices you can see? IC engines, internal combustion engines, compressors, steam engines, steam turbines, gas turbines and jet propulsion, and refrigeration and air conditioning. These are the few applications of your thermal engineering. Okay. Now IC engines already what we are going to study. Compressors, steam engines. Remember old steam engines, that is a trains and all in olden days. used to run by a steam engine. Okay, so you have a coal, once it burns, then only it will give the vapor, and same the steam turbine is available, steam boiler turbine is available, which rotates the, yeah, actually that engine will be actually running on the steam. Okay, now steam turbine, just now I have discussed in the previous slide how a steam turbine works. Now the gas turbine. So if you just go for any aircraft or the jet or rocket, you have something called as a gas turbine and the propulsion, jet propulsion. So whenever if I have the operation of a flight within the atmosphere, which is called as a jet propulsion. Above atmosphere, if it goes, it is called as a rocket propulsion. Okay, so you have a difference between the jet and rocket. And the propulsion or the gas turbine, this is based upon the basic principles of your thermodynamics and applications of thermodynamics. That's one of the thermal engineering concepts. And now everybody will be feeling the heat. Okay, now everybody needs these two things, that is refrigeration and air conditioning. So I need a refrigerator obviously to preserve the products, as well as to have a very, I mean, a good amount of cool water to suppress our thirst. Then obviously this is very very important nowadays. You can just see now it becomes a little bit cooler, but you see the peak summer, how much is the consumption of air conditioners? Because we actually, as a person, we have something called as a comfort level, that is around 25 degrees centigrade is the temperature, and you have 60% humidity. The humidity means how much is the moisture content in the air. So if you have above 25, above 60, then definitely you will feel discomfortable. So that's why I must need an air conditioner where I can maintain the humidity level as 60, around 60%, and the temperature of the air will be around 25 degrees centigrade to maintain our comfort level. Sir, why I need a comfort level? Unless if you don't have a comfort level, you can't work for more hours. Because if you just keep in an atmosphere like a furnace, closed in a room, or room which is having the closed room with the furnace, now within 2 minutes you will come out, because already the radiation from the furnace heating the entire room, and you can't sustain in the heat because your body temperature keep on increasing by absorbing the heat from the furnace. Okay, so I need this air conditioning. So conditioning in the sense here, it will be reducing the temperature. Assume the temperature of the outside air is 40 degrees, but still you feel the inside temperature of our rooms is 25. You will be using your remote control to make it to 25, 20, 16, etc., etc. So, and you have a humidity control inside that particular system where you have conditioned air coming into the room, and obviously unless I don't know the thermodynamic concept, I can't go for these applications, which are very, very important and plays a very important role in a mechanical engineering course. Okay, right. So next, now if we just come to our syllabus here, the first unit will be regarding your internal combustion engines. So hope you remember. So IC engines will be like, to start with this, that's what is a engine. So what is the basically an engine? What is internal combustion engine? What is external combustion engine? How it's different from the heat engine? So very heard about heat engine in case of your second law of thermodynamics. Okay, so internal combustion engine, what it exactly internal combustion engine gives? So as we, the word indicates internal combustion. So the combustion happens internally, which is producing some sort of work. So all mechanical work, all the devices which are now listed here, like will be producing the mechanical work. This is the power giving device. Okay. So first we have discussed about the engine definition, parts of the engine, how it works, everything, and then we gone for the IC engine classification. So what is the classification? So IC engines may be classified into different types, like based upon the different criteria, like vertical engine, horizontal engine, two-stroke engine, four-stroke engine, SI engine, CI engine, etc., etc. So those are the basic classifications of your IC engines. Now, as I discussed, the parts of an IC engine. So very important, because whenever you have an engine, because we'll be dealing at temperatures of the order of around 3000 degrees centigrade inside an IC engine or in the internal combustion engine cylinder, you have to be very careful about the selection of parts for an IC engine. So to name a few, what are the different parts of an IC engines? You have something like a cylinder, piston, connecting rod, and you have something like compression rings, oil rings. Okay, so crankshaft, camshaft, etc. All those things are the parts of a IC engine. Now, how it works? Okay, so how IC engine working? We know that the what is the suction, what is the exhaust, what is meant by the working of an IC engine. So it converts your what you call as a reciprocating motion of a piston inside the cylinder into rotary motion, which is producing the mechanical energy. Now, the classification, very, very important one among the IC engines is two-stroke and four-stroke. So obviously, whenever we have four-stroke engine, most of the time the heavy, high-speed vehicles or you have heavy-duty vehicles will be mostly using your four-stroke IC engines, and two-stroke obviously like your motorbikes, two-wheelers, where the weight is less and the power development or requirement is very less. So that's the two-stroke and four-stroke, right? Then what is SICA? So SI indicates a spark ignition engine and CA indicates compression ignition engines. So obviously compression ignition engines are nothing but diesel engines because you'll be using a diesel as a fuel. And SI engines are nothing but spark ignition engines where you are using a petrol or gasoline as a fuel, and gasoline or petrol requires some sort of a spark ignition, which actually done. That's why it's called as a spark ignition engine. Okay. So this is the about the classification. What is SA? What is CNS? Then we have something called as valve and port time diagrams. So most of the times, if I want to identify how a two-stroke engine, how it looks like, by seeing the ports or a port timing diagram, I can say that engine is a two-stroke engine. And obviously, any engine which is a four-stroke engine will have something called as valves. Okay, so you know what is the inlet valve, what is the exhaust valve, and we have discussed about the what is the valve diagram and valve diagram as well as port timing diagram, valve timing diagram as well as VTD or PTD. Those are called as valve port diagram. Very important because you have four strokes or four operations in case of four-stroke engine, two strokes are in four operations in case of two-stroke engine. The timing is very, very important. Otherwise, it leads to a very, very poor performance of engine and efficiency will be very, very less. So this is about a brief about your first unit, that is a IC engines. Okay. Now, if you go for now the other concept, yes, unit 2. Now, once if you discussed about your IC engines, now the second one is if the engine is working, I'm getting mechanical energy. Okay. So what are the basic systems or various systems supporting the internal combustion engine, which leads to producing the mechanical energy? Now, to start with, we have something called as the fuel system. So basically, without fuel, there is no power. So obviously, what are the basic fuel system? And to start with, we have just SA engine, spark ignition engine, which actually works on petrol. And what are the basic supply system? Suppose if you take a bike, it's like a gravity system. If you take a car and all, it's like a pressurized system. Okay, so you have different types of fuel supply system which supply the fuel to the engine cylinder. Then obviously a carburetor. Whenever if I'm discussing about the SA engine, I need a correct mixture of air and fuel, because here in case of a petrol engine or SA engine, air fuel ratio plays a very, very important role, because here it is which is called as low compression ratio engines. So I need a carburetor for effective metering. Metering in the sense you have maintaining the air fuel ratio depends upon the what you called as the gear. Suppose if you are going first gear, what is the air fuel ratio I need? If you're going in the top gear, what is the air fuel ratio? That will be metered by your carburetor. And obviously one more device, which is a air filter, because you are taking a combination of air and fuel. I must take air which is very pure quality. Otherwise, what happens? The air which is having a lot of dust particles, I think, will just go and mixes with your fuel. It may clog your carburetors, it may clog your valves, or it may clog your cylinders also. Okay, so there is a disadvantage. So that's why I'll be using a filter. And obviously, how the pump, fuel is going to be supplied. You have something called as mechanical pumps and electrical fuel pumps. So electrical fuel pumps are obviously the latest technology, and mechanical ones are the oldest one. And obviously the filters. Then you have something called as gasoline injection system. So if you have SA engine, you have a spark plug. Then if you have diesel engine, obviously you need to study about the injectors, because there I'm not using any carburetor. It's a high diesel engines are high compression ratio engines. So because of high compression ratio, air is taken as input. It will be compressed to the very high compression ratio of the order of 22:1. Then at that particular point, the injector will spray the diesel or the particular fuel, then automatically it will catch fire because of the high compression ratio maintained. So these are about your fuel system. Okay, just next, what you have discussed, that's what is the cooling. One more system is very important thing is cooling and lubrication system. Now cooling system very important. So this you will be experiencing sometimes whenever you are going uphill. Okay, so you are not having a sufficient water, cooling water available in your car like that. So what will happen, you can see that what will happen, what are the ill effects. So you must need a cooling, because I am dealing with the heat energy in internal combustion engine. So these particular cooling requirements, so how, what is meant by what and all cooling I need, why I need a cooling. Okay, so obviously you have two types, air cooling and liquid cooling. Obviously whenever you have the very low power development like your bikes and all, most of the times you'll be using a air cooling thing. And when you go for buses or cars and all, the air cooling is not sufficient, because your power output is high, and you definitely you require something called as liquid cooling. Liquid cooling. Okay, right. So I'll just rush that. Then you have system which actually, right, it actually supplies the how the particular system works, thermosiphon system, based upon one how the cooling water is supplied to the engine. And you have something like a pressure pumps with water as a fluid, and a forced circulation system using the pumps. Okay, that's about your cooling system. And lubrication system, I need a lubricant between the piston and cylinder to take away the friction. So obviously you have different types of lubrication system, like splash, pressurized, mist lubrication. So most of the vehicles now you have a pressurized system. A small pump is there, like a gear pump or a vane pump, something like that, which actually pressurizes the pump, pressurizes the lubricating oil stored, and circulates to the various parts which requires lubrication. Okay, so that's about your lubrication system. Next, another important thing is your ignition system. So whenever if you have a SI engine, the fuel doesn't burn on its own, because you're not having a high compression ratio. So I need external ignition system. That is nothing but your spark plug, right? So how the spark plug is going to work, how it's going to generate a spark, that's what you have. So that's the ignition system. And you have two types. One is a battery coil ignition system, as well as magneto coil ignition system. And how nowadays you have something called as electronic ignition system using a contact breaker. So this is the latest technology. So just we have all different types of ignition systems. Okay, then something called as spark advance and retard mechanism. So here what happens depends upon your spark advancing or retarding mechanism, your efficiency or your what you call it, the performance of engine, like a knocking, all the things depends upon your spark advancing or retarding mechanisms. Okay, so that's about your ignition system. Then you have something called as the third unit, which actually deals about the fuels and combustion. Okay, so you have a system, you have an engine to develop power. Now, basically, what is happening inside the particular cylinder, that is about your unit 3. That is, if you go for SI engine, how the combustion happens in 3 stages. Okay, so that 3 stages of combustion it discussed. That's called as a normal combustion procedure. And you have something like a pressure and theta. That's the angle, crank angle diagram, which gives you the 3 stages of a what you call as a combustion process. Then whenever the combustion is not normal, obviously that's called as, it's called as abnormal combustion. Okay, so the abnormal combustion leads to your knocking, right? Now, to have normal combustion or abnormal combustion, there are various parameters which affects the combustion. That is one thing, something called as a flame speed, and different variables like a temperature, pressure, etc. Okay, and you have something called as now pre-ignition and knocking. So what is the difference between a pre-ignition and what is a knocking? Clearly, discussed about the pre-ignition and knocking. So knocking will be like a end burning, and pre-ignition happens because of already hot walls and all. So it starts before igniting, it starts ignition because of hot red spots, what you call is. Okay. Then what are the fuel requirements and fuel rating? So remember, so whenever you have a fuel requirement, if you have a petrol, I'll be always choosing a something called as the octane number of a particular fuel. Okay, that's all called as a fuel rating. So octane number is which indicates the quality of petrol, and C10 number is the thing used for your diesel. Okay. Now, once you have knocking or abnormal combustion, how to reduce that? That gives you what is known as anti-knock additives. Okay. Then finally, you have something called as a combustion chamber. How what are different types of combustion chambers like T head, L, I mean L, T head type, L type, etc. So what type of combustion chamber I can use for a good efficiency purpose? Okay, that's about SI engine. Now same thing available for a CA engines also, right? Now that gives you CA engines also. We have 4 stages compared to the 3 stages of combustion in SI engine, right? So that is the something called as a ignition. That's a uh, starting of the thing, then uncontrolled control as well as afterburning. Those are the stages. Okay. Then delay period, the important parameter about the in the stages and the different stage of a combustion. And again, what are the variables what actually involved which affect the performance of CA engine and diesel knock, like you're knocking in SI engines, you have diesel knock, and obviously combustion chambers, direct ignition, indirect injection chambers, and finally the C10 number, which indicates the fuel rating for CI engines. Okay, that's about 4. Now, to go for a unit 4 now, once you have everything now, then how the testing or performance works. Okay, so this gives you the concept of something called as mileage. That is nothing but your performance parameter for an engine. So we are discussing different parameters of performance like indicated power, brake power, frictional power, mechanical efficiency, indicated thermal efficiency, brake thermal efficiency, volumetric efficiency, base specific fuel consumption. All those things are something called as parameters of performance. Then how to measure the cylinder pressure? That's the mean effective pressure, so that we already discussed. Then fuel consumption, so how the fuel tank works, how much is the mass of fuel consumption, what is meant by air fuel ratio, etc. will be discussed. Then exhaust composition, obviously once fuel burns, the gases will be coming, and you have something called as RSAT operators, which actually gives you, I can find out once the exhaust gas comes, how much is the percentage of carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, as well as oxygen. Okay, then brake power, there's a shaft power available at the end of your engine, and obviously what is frictional power, and these things gives you what is the mechanical efficiency. And finally, something called as heat balance sheet, which gives you that once the heat is generated from the fuel, how much it is converted into work and how much is the remaining things, the heat loss to cooling water, heat loss to lubrication, heat loss to and unaccounted losses. Those are called nothing but heat balance sheet. And if I plot this thing, I call it, it's a heat balance chart. Okay, so that's about your 4th unit. And finally, what we're discussing is about compressors. So compressor is the device which I have to provide a power, and because of the power only it will work and compresses the air from low pressure to high pressure. I think recently we have discussed this and we have idea. So different types of compressors, reciprocating and rotary. And reciprocating compressors, the different arrangements like clearance volume, with clearance volume, how the compressors are, and something called a single stage and multi-stage compressors. Then you have then some one multi-stage is available. What is the effect of intercooling? And that is a perfect intercooling, imperfect intercooling. Those are the things I want to discuss as part of a problem. And once the one section of compressors, that's the reciprocating compressors, is over, then you have something called as, yes, that is rotary compressors. So we have seen already the working of a compressor like a vane type, centrifugal, axial flow, and how it's going to work. Already we have seen. So that's about your the complete 5 units or for your of your thermal engineering 1 syllabus. So just that completes your division of the thing. Okay, and once I finishes this session, so I'll be sharing a link for your what you call as test or quiz. So all of you Just attend that quiz. It's a mandatory because I'll be taking that score into account. Okay. So anything is there, just we'll discuss it afterwards. Thank you.